All right, let's open with prayer and we'll get started. So, Lord, again, Father, as we just continue to take a few minutes to look at the crazy, cool world we live in, not to be fearful, not to be afraid, but to understand the times that we live in, and really to be excited, God, to change our view of the world and the understanding of it, God, that we can truly be engaged in it, we can be involved in it, and most of all, God, you can use it, God. It's always for your glory. In Jesus' name, amen. So again, this is part two of crazy, keeping watching a crazy cool world, and I really believe it really is a crazy cool world. You take the time to look at it. Uh, so where we left off was reality check. Ezekiel 11:17 says, "Therefore say, this is what the sovereign Lord says: I will gather you from the nations, bring you back from the countries where you have been scattered. I will give you back the land of Israel again." Israel is God's chosen. Israel, the land belongs to Israel. That's what the fight is all about. And it clearly says, I asked then, did God reject his people? This is Paul in Romans. By no means. I'm an Israelite myself, a descendant of Abraham from the tribe of Benjamin. God did not reject his people whom he foreknew. So reality is Romans. Paul's clear. Israel is God's chosen people. Now here's reality. Is Israel perfect? No, by no means. Okay? Does Israel have their own deep state? Absolutely. Is that deep state in war with the conservatives over there? Absolutely. But the key is that you can't go off the basic of the foundation is they're still God's chosen people. That's what you have to go back to. And we have to realize it is a spiritual battle. It started out as a spiritual battle. It's been going in a spiritual battle. It is still a spiritual battle. Genesis 12:3, I shared yesterday, I will bless those who bless thee, and whoever curses thee, I will curse, and all the people of earth will be blessed through you. That is a spiritual issue going on here, okay? Because we know the actual blessing is going to be Jesus Christ in the end. But the reality is it's still a battle that's being played out in the physical realm. And then Moses goes on in Deuteronomy 14 says, "For you are as holy a people, holy to the Lord your God. Out of all the peoples on the face of the earth, the Lord has chosen you to be his treasured possession." So there's, again, if God's word is the same yesterday, today, and forever, then Israel is still God's chosen people. Israel is still supposed to be in the land that they're called to be into, and it's a battle. And the question is, really, are we paying attention? Are we really, as the church, understanding the times that we live in and what's really happening? Jesus is very clear in Matthew 24, "Therefore keep watch, because you do not know on what day your Lord will come." And as Ken's going to started laying the foundation last night, going to continue to lay the foundation, relay the foundation on the church. And Jesus coming back to the church and the second coming are two different events, but the church leaving is very, very important. Do we understand that we don't know when that's happening, but it's going to happen? And he says, "Therefore keep watch, because you know not how the day or know the day or the hour." So here's reality. For some reason, Jesus wants to repeat this process. We need to be keeping watch. There's some things going on in this world we need to understand. And he says, in Luke says, "As in the days of Noah, so shall be the day of the Son of Man." Whether you know this or not, or you keep up with this or not, there's some crazy cool stuff going on today that's coming out, truth. Did you know the FDA has approved hundreds of drugs with no evidence that they work, including almost every vaccine? Just telling you. Evil. And by the way, I'm going to clarify evil. Usually we think of evil as physical behavior, but we need to remember that it's also more than that. It's the actions that move further away from God to the other side. That's what really evil really is. It can be physical, but it's more the things that are going on in the world. German court claims no motive in Slingen jihad despite ISIS allegiance, attack video, and Al Akbar war cry. So there's an incident where this guy in 2023 kills somebody, and now the courts are saying, well, it's really not that big a deal. Huh. Why is that? Why? If you're not paying attention to what's going on in Europe, you need to open our eyes, because Gomer's getting ready to become Gomer. Banai, Portugal warns Jewish human rights are being denied globally. We are living through a moment in the basic human rights, life, dignity, and security that are being denied to Jews around the world. It's no longer theoretical. Jewish people are being hunted, burned, stabbed, and shot. The myth of Jewish privilege is used to justify barbarism. This is going on in every country, including the US of A. We really understand that. What the riot planners are plotting to do next could be the far bigger the chaos that we are currently witnessing. Do we realize that we are under attack? This is just the probing events at this point, I believe. So how will we respond? Because today, on Saturday today, there's supposed to be 1,550 no king protests all over the country, including one in Wichita, Kansas. By the way, we're gonna have one here too. Fremont Park. And guess what's supposed to happen today about that time? It's supposed to get thunderstorms and rains. These are Wichita and Emporia, right around noon. Praise God. Wash them out, Lord. I love it. But here's the key is these no kings groups, there's dozens and dozens of prominent NGOs, non-government organizations that are leftist organizations that are basically funding those things. And what's exciting, if we're paying attention, NGOs that are funding the current riots in California, that the DOJ says, you know what, we need to find out where the money's coming from. And they're actually starting to dig in finally. And so, you know what, we're going to establish and really go arrest the people that really need to be arrested. So, but the point is, we're still in the days of Noah. And we know we're going to be in the days of Noah, so therefore it's going to get worse. It's going to get more evil, not better. Harvard commencement speaker, Lod's classmate who assaulted Israeli student to whoops and cheers from the crowd. What do you even say to that? Other than that's just pure evil. One of the used to be premier institutes of education. Started out as a Bible college originally. It's gone. EU unveils digital strategy pushing digital ID systems. Is that me? And online censorship. So this online censorship is just another. All right, is that better? Can you hear me? Okay. So the EU, European Union, okay, has this new strategy that they're going to collaborate with other nations promoting a digital identity wallet while aiming for mutual recognition electronic trust services. Hey, we're all this together. Basically what they're really doing is putting a strategy together to really surveil everybody, everything, 100% of the time. It's coming. We're not going to stop it. And this is what I understand. These things we're talking about today, we're not going to stop most of the stuff. We may slow it down, but it's coming. And it's in our lifetime. We're literally seeing these biblical things play out today. Oops. London's crime epidemic. It's scaring tourists away. London used to be a really cool town. London is, by the way, anybody know who the mayor of London is? He's a Muslim. Huh. So this once peaceful city in Europe, this once dominant city in Europe, is not so anymore. In fact, it's pretty much pure evil now. Playground for thugs. 2 dead, 700 fires, nearly 506 arrests in France after Champions League final. France is another country that is close to being lost. And it may already be lost. They have allowed evil to go unchecked for so long, out of diversity, out of DEI, that now is that pretty much is their norm of relationships over there. They are truly, pretty much just evil. Arizona governor vetoes ban billing teaching anti-Semitism and calls it an attack on education. Wait a minute. I don't want you to teach anti-Semitism, and if I tell you that, that's an attack on education. How is that an attack on education? How is that wrong? By the way, this is also the governor that vetoed a bill that said we're not going to sell land to the Chinese around military installations. She also vetoed that bill. This woman's evil, just telling you. And if we open our eyes, we will see how evil most of these people are by their actions and what they display. The question is, are we willing to really recognize it, call it for what it is? Jesus also says, as in the days of Lot. If you know, the days of Lot were pretty much sexual impurity, sexual immorality run amok. And we think that's happening in the world today. DePaul University hosts an X-rated sex ed event sponsored by Planned Parenthood Chapel. It's called Hello Planned Parenthood Generation Action Community. Come join us for a fun and educational night discussing what healthy sexual relationships look like for those engaged in BDSM. By the way, isn't DePaul a Catholic religious university? Or was? Yeah, it's crazy. Christian YMCA Center to host LGBTQ plus youth camp for kids as young as 7. So Stevens Family YMCA is a nonprofit association committed to a mission of putting Christian principles into practice through programs that build a healthy spirit, mind, and body for all. That's what their website says. Well, I don't think that applies to those things. So how did they go wrong? Minnesota girls softball team with trans-identifying male player wins the state championship. I don't know if you've been paying attention to these things or not, but it's crazy. That we can take a girls' team okay, guys and girls were created the same by God, with the image of God. But there are distinct differences the way God has designed them to do certain things and men to do certain things. We're not equal in certain things. We're equal in the eyes of God. But the way they have taken this today and allowed transgender boys to be girls, of course, the stuff going on in Oregon and California on the track teams as well, it's amazing how we justify evil so well in the world today, especially even in America today. And I think we need to focus on America more than anything else because, we need to take the log out of our eye as a nation. Pride Month, Oregon middle schoolers encouraged to cross-dress for Flag Day, or Drag Day. So, the majority of the week's lessons and activities were not considered part of the students' formal instruction, but the article says that the Oregon's Department of Education's LGBTQ2SIA+, I have no idea what all that stands for anymore, Student Success Plan. Now, here's the crazy part. The Department of Education in Oregon has a alternative LGBTQ success plan for students. Now, why would they do that? Evil. Just pure evil. And by the way, we lost education in the 1960s. Okay, 62, when we lost the Bible and the prayer. And we have now roughly our third generation of kids coming out of that. And the challenge is the generation of teachers today came out of that before that. So now we have truly a generation of non-moral, biblical moral teachers teaching an immoral system. You cannot teach education in a moral vacuum. So we're teaching biblical principles. If we're not teaching biblical principles, we're teaching satanic principles. That's all there is. There's only 2 sets. And now we got teachers that teach that from a perspective as well, if that makes sense. Satanic Temple to deliberately open abortion clinic in Maine on Trump's birthday. Since the end of Roe, the Satanic Temple has been trying to make its satanic abortion ritual a constitutional protected religious practice in order to enshrine killing unborn babies through the abortion as a First Amendment protection. Is that crazy or what? But here's the cool part of this one. They're basically they're opening up the truth that what they're really doing, that we should understand, all abortion is basically worship to Molech. It's been going on for a lot of years. We see it through history. But that's all it is. It's an act of worship to Satan. The question is, will the church wake up and get involved? Missoula approves pride flag as official city flag in the opposition to new law. So in Montana passed a law, so you know what? None of these other flags can fly over anything that's governmental. So Missoula says, you know what? We're just going to approve the pride flag to be our city flag. Now, isn't Missoula, Montana, kind of like in the flyover area? Aren't that kind of the conservative area of the world? Used to be, maybe? And do we really understand how infiltrated even the Midwest is with all of this stuff? Survivors testify MK's participated in sadistic sexual rituals involving minors. This was going on in actually Israel. Okay? Several women testified Tuesday at the consent about sexual abuse they suffered as minors as part of a religious ritual ceremonies. The people who will fall are very, very senior figures, apparently. These people run communities, they run governments, agencies, and they threaten. And the challenge is they keep saying, nobody's going to believe you. Nobody's going to believe you. But here's what's amazing. People are starting to believe. Hey, this really probably is going on. Truth is starting to be exposed. But here's the sad part. If you read this article, everything they're talking about is happening all over the world. It's happening in Kansas. People, it's happening in Kansas. Nevada health official hid child sex changes from parents using runaway youth loophole. So here's just one agency. It's a health agency. And they believed they have the right to circumvent the rights of parents. They believe that they know better than the parents how to take care of your children. And they're by no means the only group doing this. Salt Lake City issues new pride flag to get around Utah ban. So here's another major flyover city you think is conservative doing the same thing. So the question we have to ask ourselves, to really understand really what's going on, and do we understand that the coming battle is real? And I think we probably have a little better understanding of that since Israel made that decision to preemptively strike Iran, and that's still going on. But this is just the beginning. It's just the birth pains, I think. Ezekiel 38 says, the word of the Lord came to me, Son of man, set your face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, prophesy against him and say, this is what the sovereign Lord says, I'm against you, Gog, chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. So we know that there's this battle is coming. Ezekiel 38 war, that's what most of us call it. But we know that when this thing comes, it's going to be like anything we've ever seen in our lifetime, for sure. And we know that this group that's getting ready to come, he just described part of it, truly has a hatred for Israel. I will turn you around, put hooks in your jaws, and bring you out with your whole army, your horses and your horsemen, fully armed, and a great horde with large and small shields, all of them brandishing their swords. Persia, Cush, and Put will be with them. All the shields and the helmets, also Gomer, all its troops, Beth Togarmah, and the far north, with all of its troops, and many nations with you. This is a big, big group. Now, if you want to look at, this is a person's portrayal, just looking at from a biblical name, Gomer, Rosh, and so interesting. So Gomer's up in this area here. I'll show you another map in a minute. Rosh, Magog, Persia, of course. Pardon? Oh, yeah. You haven't seen any of this yet, huh? Yeah.
You got to start over.
No. Cool. All right. So this is Gomer in this area over here. By the way, what area is that? No, European Union. That's the European Union. Rosh, Magog, Persia, Meshech, Tubal, Togarmah, Libya, Ethiopia. Those are pretty easy ones. Now, here's this other guy's the way he likes to view it, which I thought was interesting. Okay, it's modern day names, but he colorizes it. So now he says Gomer is pretty much the entire European Union. Huh. If you haven't been paying attention to what the European Union's been saying about Israel lately, wow, amazing. Of course, Meshech and Tubal, pretty much all of, and Beth Tamar is pretty much all of the Russia and the Turkey area. And of course, you got Persia over here, which we know is Iran. Sudan's easy, and then Put, which is the northern Egypt. Now, here's what's really amazing. Did you notice these two areas right here? They're grayed out. Why are they grayed out? This one has a treaty with Israel. This one's going to have a treaty with Israel. Watching some news last night after the conference, heard a couple people say this, and I was talking with a brother this morning. He or somebody else say the same thing, that with this new attack on Iran and their dismantling of their nuclear system, it's going to pave the way for peace in the Middle East. And one guy went on to say last night, it's going to pave the way for the Abraham Accords to be finished, complete. When the Abraham Accords are complete, this area here called Sheba and Dedan will be at peace with Israel. And we know when this group right here, when the war comes, this group right here doesn't come and fight. In fact, they call them out, why are you doing this? So my point being is, we're getting close to this. If this current conflict with Iran and Israel brings peace to the Middle East, and we actually have this Abraham Accords finish up, we truly are living in biblical times. It is truly amazing. The question is, are we excited about it? Are we engaged in it? Are we involved in it? And then you have the reality in Israel. If you don't know what's going on in Israel besides the fighting, but if you don't understand the deep state battles that are going on, so the same battles that are going on in America with Trump, okay, and the deep state are going on with Benjamin Netanyahu and the deep state over there. The deep state is not confined to America. The deep state is worldwide. Okay? So, report Netanyahu seeks U.S. mediating negotiations with Syria. See, this one blows my mind. But he's actually reaching out to revise security agreements with Damascus. What? By the way, who runs Damascus right now? A terrorist. So if you didn't know, Syria totally fell a few months ago, and now a terrorist literally runs the whole nation. He dresses up in suits, and now he meets all the heads of nations now. And now Netanyahu is saying, well, maybe we can have some peace here with them as well. Crazy. Again, what does Israel want? Peace. A soft coup. The enemy is at work, and he's trying to take Netanyahu down before Hamas is fully destroyed. Whether you like Benjamin Netanyahu or not, or believe everything about him or not, to me is not the issue. The issue is he loves Israel. If that makes sense. Here's a guy that loves the nation Israel, just like President Trump loves the nation of America. They're nationalists. And maybe they're not the last two nationalists anymore. We have other nationals out there. But the deep state does not like nationalism. So they want to take them out. And they want to take them out. In the deep state in Israel wants to take out their own leadership that's a nationalist at the expense of their own people to keep Hamas in power. Hamas, as we talked about yesterday, that their whole goal is to annihilate Israel. Their whole goal is to wipe out Israel. Hamas does not want a two-state solution. It's crazy. And then you have Yavel Hari. This guy, a Jewish scholar, he says he warns of a spiritual catastrophe for Judaism. This guy is so, if you've never read any of his stuff, you ought to Google his name, just read some of the things he says. He is so far deep into the deep state. He is just eerie almost. He really believes and supports the fourth industrial revolution that's coming. He supports it, believes it's the best thing. But he really said that the current administration and their actions are evil. He said the current administration of what Benjamin Netanyahu and his group is doing to support Israel and help Israel survive is evil. Wow. The guy's evil. I'm just telling you. You got to read some of his stuff if you haven't. There's a two-state solution to kill Jews and destroy Israel. This is going on. France, Britain, and Canada have revived the talk about the need to establish a Palestinian state. Next month, the United Nations is scheduled to host an international conference co-chaired by France and Saudi Arabia to advance the idea of a two-state solution between Israel and the Palestinians, as outlined in the General Assembly Resolution 7981. The conference will produce an actionable-oriented outcome document entitled Peace peaceful settlements of the question of Palestine and the implication of a two-state solution. Now, here's what's crazy. Since the attack took place, this has been postponed. Huh. Because historically we know they've been offered a two-state solution at least 4 times. And they said no every single time. They don't want a two-state solution. They want a one-state solution. And that's a Palestinian state without the existence of Israel. But this stuff is still going on. And what's really interesting on this one is you have France and Britain, part of the EU, part of Gomer, bringing things up against Israel. And they're not the only ones. And I truly, when I wrote this, and the war started, the other day, Friday night, it's like, well, it's already started. It's like, but the war has started. But I don't think most Americans realize the war started. I would hope California would open our eyes to realize that the war really is on our shores. But the war has started. The Muslim Brotherhood plans to subvert European countries from the bottom up. So when I say the war started, it's not just off in America, but it's in the European Union as well. It's in the whole world that's going on. So on May 22nd of 25, Rodrigo published a detailed report, 73-page report from intelligence services that was given to the French Minister of Interior that said the Muslim Brotherhood plans to subvert and take control of France. And that's the synopsis of it. Okay, here's what they're going to do. The Muslim Brotherhood is going to take over France by subversion. And praise God, we have some congressmen today that are actually finally going to say they actually have a resolution on the table, a bill on the table in Congress to label the Muslim Brotherhood as a terrorist organization. Finally. Will it pass? I don't know, because I don't trust most of the people in Congress, even those that say they're conservative. But the plan is this. Understand. There's only 2 sides, right? There's God's side, there's Satan's side. And God says, I will bless those who bless thee, I will curse those who curse thee. If you curse Israel, if you hate Israel, if you want the destruction of Israel, you're on Satan's side. So sadly, there are a lot of Muslims in this world that are deceived, and there's some maybe that are sold out. See, I don't know. But those that are wanting the destruction of Israel, the Muslim Brotherhood, are working for Satan. Bottom line. Do we understand the battle? Do we understand it's real? And do we understand that we have a couple million of them in America today? Mass immigration is being used to roll out the globalist agenda, including digital IDs. Privacy advocates and commentators argue that the government is using the immigration crisis as cover to normalize a centralized surveillance infrastructure with long-term implications of civil liberties. Home Security Yvette Cooper unveiled plans to tie e-visits to digital IDs, allowing authorities to track people's movements in and out of the UK and identify overstayers with enforcement. But everyone gets an ID. So the EU's trying to roll it out. Britain's saying, we're going to come along and roll it out. And trust me, if Trump wasn't in office today, they'd be rolling it out here as well. So here's the reality, okay? There is true science, correct? There's bad science and there's real science. And the second law of thermodynamics says, basically, entropy, that everything's in this downward spiral decay. It's just a fact. Until you get to the bottom. And we know the bottom's going to come at the 7th week of Daniel, basically, the bottom. So even though we are blessed at the moment by having a conservative nationalist leader and some great people they've put in place, we're still in a downward spiral of decay. So the question is, we may get a reprieve again, but what do we do with the reprieve? Because this junk of this national ID stuff is still going on. The majority of the deep state that runs all the departments in America, like the FDA, now we're trying to get a hold of some of those things, administration, but the point is they're still doing things. Did you know, like in Arizona, they wiped out 95% of the chicken population in Arizona last week, all because of bird flu? No, they're going to control the food system. So we have a small group of rebels, and I mean that in a positive sense, not a bad sense, running the government right now, or trying to manage the government right now, against all the imperialists in the government, that you can't take them all out in one fell swoop. So the battle is still real. How the UN is paving for irreversible path to a Palestinian state. The conference poses a serious challenge to the Trump administration's foreign policy. The European Union, Canada, UK, and the Arab League. See, interesting. This one says pretty much all the European Union, okay, in this group here, Canada, UK, Arab League, including Saudi Arabia and Qatar and many other countries that rely on U.S. aid, are taking part in this initiative. Now, this is another look at the one we talked about. This one is actually on hold right now since the war started, physical war with Israel and Iran. But the point is, the European Union is gomer. The European Union is pretty much gone. The European Union is not our friend if you're a conservative. And we have a president that says, we warn against attending the UN conference on Israel-Palestine two-state solution. Oh, now we do still have some stroke economically, military in the world if it's run by the right people. So it's interesting as the battle lines are being drawn. And Iran vows to ramp up enrichment after UN watchdog finds it's breached nuke safeguards. Now I left this one in there. I was going to take it out, but I left it in there because here's the point. This is the first time that the International Atomic Energy Agency ever said anything truly negative and called out Iran. Ever. And Iran said, well, you're going to call us out? We're just going to enrich even more then. Well, duh. So, the failure to be transparent on the nuclear prep, they've been failing it since day one. So they're going to double down. They're going to enrich more. Now, some believe, actually it's a different article, I'll read in a minute. So, I truly believe we live in a crazy cool world. And for me, it's a term of endearment of like, okay, God, I get up, I get to play this is, I live in this world, you live in this world. It can be a negative or it can be a positive. And as a church, it should be a positive. Because fear is not who we are. So therefore, it's just crazy cool. All right? So Iran carried out implosion tests for nuclear weapons developments, according to the IAEA findings. They finally came out and said, oh, wait a minute. An implosion test. By the way, that's a preparation for a nuclear weapon. And they finally came out and said that. And if you remember back a few weeks when they had a couple 3-point-something earthquakes about 4 weeks apart around a nuclear facility area, oh, it's just a natural earthquake. Calling them out. I'm telling you, what Israel did was divine, in my opinion, on the timing of it. But if they didn't have it ready, they were so close to have one ready. Have you noticed the seismic activity that's been going on nuts all over the globe this month? Now we know when the seals pop after we're gone, okay, earthquakes are going to be crazy. But just in the past 30 days, okay, and this report is actually 4 days old now, worldwide there are 56,867 earthquakes of magnitudes up to 6.5. In 30 days? Isn't that crazy? We don't hear much talk about it, though, do we? Because we want to control it. They want to control the medium on this stuff. But it's just a birth pain. Signs of the crazy world we live in. Gen Z, 8 in 10 would consider marrying an AI. Man, this is really a sad reaction to the loneliness, the anxiety, depression that so many young people feel. It keeps from forming deep relationships or even being willing to leave their homes. Okay, go to a restaurant today. You have a family of 5. And what is everybody doing at the table? They're on their phone. You know, I'm not anti-phone. It's a great tool. But if you allow it to control your life, then it's not a tool anymore. It personalizes everything. I love texting. It's really easy. It's quick sometimes. But it's not the way to carry on a conversation, a deep discussion, or really anything. So the challenge is, this Gen Z, they're the outcome of the 3rd generation coming out of an immoral education system, taught by immoral people. And that's all they know. Think about it. As a believer, we should not be lonely. As a believer, we should not have to be full of anxiety. We should not be depressed. But if you don't have the hope, you have anxiety, you have depression, you have loneliness because you're lost. You have nothing. So they have been deceived, a generation that has no clue who their identity is. So They're going to go for anything that helps makes them feel part of something. AI. And it's nothing more than an attack on God's design of the relationship that he wants with us and the relationship we're supposed to have with one another. And here's the question. What's the church going to do about it? That's the question. What are we? And I don't mean the church as in the pastors. I mean the church as in the people, the body of Christ. We're the church. I'm just part of the church. I'm just a child of God like you. I get to pastor. That's part of the things I get to do, but that's not my identity. My identity, I'm just a child of God, a member of the church with the rest of us. What do we do with that? Christian pro-Israel Dallas summit canceled due to anti-Semitic jihad threats. Now, wait a minute. I thought Dallas, Texas was like, just rich with just, what happened? Dallas. So this isn't just about our event being shut down. It's part of an alarming trend that's escalating, according to Israel Guys host Joshua Waller. He said the threats against the summit were direct, coordinated, and credible. And Texas is somewhat one of the biggest conservative states around. What's happened? The point is the battle is real. And if you take a stand, expect to get attacked. And again, as me, that's why Box, are we keeping watch? Do you really know what's going on in life today? Do you really understand the truth? Because here's reality, okay? If you're in God's army and you go to war, what are the going to happen? What's going to happen? What's the ultimate? Something's going to happen. Casualties. Okay, it's just a fact. All right. You can't go to war without casualties. It's going to happen. The question is, most of us don't want to be casualties because we focus too much on the world. We focus too much on enjoying life instead of really understanding that our hope is not here. Our hope is eternity. So are we willing to be casualties? That's a challenge. Tens of thousands of AI users now believe ChatGPT is God. I'm telling you, AI is a deception. I'm not saying AI in itself is immoral, or amoral. It doesn't have a morality one way or the other. It's what you do with it that makes it good or bad. Okay? And because we know there's a deep state that's evil, we know that it's going to be turned evil, and we know what's going to control it in the end. And so this deception with it is already in full swing, is my point. Do we really understand it? Image of the beast. And especially the one that's going to be talking. It's coming. "2024 desktop exercise war game bioterrorist attack that kills 280,000 Americans in a single day on July 4th, 2025. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but in October of 2019, there was a group of experts that met and wargamed a scenario about a pandemic that just happened to play out about 4 months later, what we know as the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, this report published by the U.S. Bipartisan Commission on Biodefense in April, May of 2024, entitled "The Nationalist Blueprint for Biodefense Threatens a Bioterror Attack Scheduled to Take Place on 4 July 2025. If you don't think these people will do this, we're naive. They don't care about people. You're a commodity. You're expendable. We are expendable. And we are definitely expendable as the church because they really don't like us. There's 1,550 riots throughout America today. Okay, this is just the precursor. This is not even the beginning. It's like just the prelude to what can be coming. Al-Qaeda leader calls on Muslims in America to launch terror attacks and assassinate President Trump and his cabinet. Sayed bin Aftah al-Awlaki, something like that, the newly appointed leader of Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, has issued a chilling call to arms targeting the President of the United States, Donald Trump, Vice President J.D. Vance, other top administration officials, including Musk, cabinet members. It was a 34-minute video entitled "Inciting the Believers." The terror leader called for strikes on all Jews. Do not leave a single safe place for Jews. This guy, now here's what's crazy. This guy sent this 34-minute video. Here's what I want you guys to, not just Jews, but everybody, but Jews in particular as well, but all of us, remember, Saturday people first, Sunday people second. That's their motto, okay? So he's calling for these Muslims throughout the world, and of course, we have no radical Muslims in Emporia, Kansas, right? None in America, none in Wichita, Kansas, because we're a flyover state. We're conservative, right? He's calling for them to come up and do a strike. Could that be July 4th, 2025? I don't know. But I'm telling you this, these people take this stuff seriously. And now think about what just took place in Iran. And I know at this point, at least when I've read, America is not physically assisting Israel in the actual bombing and all those kind of things. But where do you think they got most of those ammunition from? Where do you think they bought those F-35s from? And Iran's calling us out, said, you guys are guilty. We're coming after you. We're the great Satan, they're the little Satan. So we're going to get combined anyway. So I'm just saying, we need to be on watch in our own lives, in our own communities. We really understand what that looks like. Rich futurist claims human mutants are coming and will make regular humans obsolete. Transhumanism, also known as the Fourth Industrial Revolution, can help to extend your life for 500 years, and then it's amazing to think what we can achieve. Sim, as his name told the Daily Mail, humanity has now reached a point where we are at a crossroads and we're trying to accept technology into our lives to enhance lifestyles. Okay, so they want immortality. And here's the crazy part. We know it's coming. Satan's plan, and here's the thing I love about the left. Their evil plans, they lay them out there for you. Here's what we're going to go do. They tell you what's coming. We know this fourth industrial revolution is what's coming. Most likely, I'm not going to be dogmatic, but most likely, when you get to that point of the 7th week of Daniel and you have to take the mark, it's not some imprint on anything. It's actually something that goes into your body that actually transforms you into an actual Borg. If you guys remember Star Trek, the Borg, we're here to assimilate you. Okay, that's really what it's going to be like. You're assimilated into the system, into the technology world, so you can't come back because who you are has been changed. And it's open, it's out there. And it's happening already now. People are already getting chipped throughout the world. Okay, but it's not the beast. It's not the mark of the beast. It's just the precursor of what's coming. And I know there's people that don't like Musk because of his Neuralink. Neuralink is one cool device to give people the opportunity to move and talk and to have speech again, and movement and hands, do things again. But again, it's all moral. It's just a device. But do you think it can be used against us? Absolutely. And what's crazy now, there's 6 other companies out there doing the same thing now that aren't run by the same type of people as Musk and his group. It's coming. Humanity may achieve the singularity within the next 6 months, scientists suggest. This one blew my mind. Like, wow. The emergence of machine intelligence think that the singularity, the theoretical point where machine surpasses human intelligence. Now, most say, oh no, it's 34 years, 50 years, 60 years away. But we also said AI was way out there as well before you could do all this stuff. And my point is, for the most part, all of the estimations and dates set on the advancement of AI have all been wrong. Categorically failure wrong. In other words, oh, it's 10 years away, happens tomorrow. Oh, it's 20 years away, happens two months later. So this guy, oh, it's probably 2060, it's 2050, 2030. This guy said it could be within 6 months. Could you imagine? Artificial intelligence, general intelligence, AGI? Wow. And of course, who's going to be behind that? I truly believe Satan. So is God going to show himself? Absolutely. See, this is why it's a crazy, cool world we can't fear. I'm not going to stop this stuff. That's a fact. But I can make a difference in people's lives by not being in fear and just enjoying the process and being a light, being a beam of hope, being a beam of joy. He says, I will execute judgment on him and the plague and bloodshed. I will pour down torrents of rain, hailstones, burning sulfur on him and on his troops and on the many nations on him. And I will show my greatness and my holiness, and I will make myself known in the sight of many nations, and they will know that I am the Lord. This Ezekiel 38 is coming. That war's coming, and the things are already being set up to make it happen. But God's going to exercise judgment, period. It's coming. Now, Whether we're here, there's great theologians that say we're here up until that point, we're here before it goes. I don't know. Don't really care. But I do know this. They're not going to win because it's not about them. It's still about Israel. That 70th week of Daniel is what we're preparing for. And I truly believe the church is supposed to be part of that preparation to get to the 70th week of Daniel. In other words, we're supposed to be the light and the hope of the world at this point. So not too many people get to go through the 70th week of Daniel. Because the 70th week of Daniel is not about the church, it's about the restoration of Israel and also spanking those that have rejected his grace. Twofold. So the question is, God will execute judgment. So I don't have to execute judgment. He's going to show his greatness. It's not about what I can say, do, and it's about his holiness. Okay? Our holiness is within him through the work of Jesus Christ on the cross. That's where my holiness is. He makes me holy. He sets me apart. I just got to participate in that, okay? So the question is right now is, what can we do to allow God to work in our lives that we can surrender to those things, that we can be the might of the Lord, to love God and love others where they're at. And here's reality. This is something I've been thinking about for a while, so listen to this for a second. I call it only in a mixed up world. You have the evil tell you who they are, the left, the Democrat, progressive, and still they are praised. Only in a mixed up world that the press negatively reports on aid being dispersed to those in need by a non-UN group. Only in a mixed up world that you demand the attacked nation to stop fighting, defending themselves from the aggressor, and allow the aggressor to stay in power. Only in a mixed up world that you reward a terrorist group with statehood after violating world recognized rules of the Geneva Convention. Only in a mixed up world that a nation run by a terrorist recognized by world leaders. Only in a mixed up world that millions of illegal people can be brought into a nation freely, illegally by a government, and can be deported and cannot be deported without trial over their rights. Only in a mixed up world can a government that is truly wanting to cut waste, fraud, and abuse that is branded as radical and tyrannical. Only in a mixed up world can a peaceful riot that destroys communities, businesses, and blame the peacemakers for the violence. Only in a mixed up world can you claim science is the foundation of truth, yet deny science and say a man is a woman. Only in a mixed up world can women's sports be dominated by male competitors at the expense of women and say you support women and their right to be successful. Only in a mixed up world can you declare that abortion is a religious ceremonial right. Only in a mixed up world can you declare you care for children yet inject them with 70+ vaccines that are not properly vetted. And only in a mixed up world can the church say they love God yet hate Israel. And I'm telling you today, if the church doesn't, and I mean the church, the called out assembly, and we have some called out assembly people that don't love Israel. They love God, but they're missing this one right here in itself. And we have to come back and repent of that and get back on target, if that makes sense. Because all of this craziness that's going on, basically, wrong has become right, right has become wrong. Evil's rampant, always has been, but honestly, COVID-19, again, God 828 everything, right? What he says. And COVID-19, the thing about COVID-19, the pandemic was, it exposed the dark side. There are no shields around them anymore. It is wide open. The question is, will we take the time to see it, recognize it, and then ask God, what do we do about it? What do I do about it? What do I do about it in my workplace, at my school, at my association, at my home, in my neighborhood, in my church? What do we do about it? And I don't mean necessarily that you got to get in and bust head, but maybe it is to run for a public office. Maybe it is get on the school board. Maybe it is just to come alongside and put an arm around somebody and say, you know what? You seem like you need some prayer. Can I pray with you? We just got to get in the fight. And the fight, a lot of times, we think is physical. It's not. It may end up that way. Israel's in a fight right now, and it's spiritual, but it's physical. They're playing out in the physical world. But most of our fighting for us is going to be in the spiritual realm. Do we really want to get into that fighting? Do we want to put on the armor of God? Do we understand that that's the battle? Because remember, I like the watchman mentality. I like the fight mentality. That's what I grew up doing. Okay, I know how to kill and break things. I was trained to do that for 15 years of my life. But you put on the armor, stand firm, and then do what? Pray. Wow. I don't get to swing the sword because I want to? No. Pray. And I think that's the problem in the church today. We don't understand the calling on our lives. The world, the stuff's going on, don't get me wrong. Okay? But there are people that are being lost. Okay? Personally, I believe 9 out of 10 people right now, 9 out of 10 people throughout this world are on the way to hell. It's crazy. We're outnumbered. I get it. But we're not outgunned. Because greater is he who is in us than he is in the world. The question is, will we get in the fight? And then the question is, are your eyes open? And I'm guarantee you can have your eyes open and not see anything and not recognize what's going on. In my younger days, working some crime scenes, stuff like that, talk to victims, and it's like they were right there. They have no clue what went on. Or what they thought went on, what even close to reality. So my question, are your eyes open, really means, are you in tune and engaged with the Spirit in your life on a daily basis, understanding when you walk out your doors, you're actually in the battlefield. Because now, evil is now good. We have made that transition in this world. Evil is now good. Isaiah 5:20 says, woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness, who put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. So there's a woe coming for them. I get it. But that woe doesn't come from us most of the time. It's coming from God. But the challenge is, how do we operate with good, even though it's still evil? And I think that's the part that challenges us as we're being watchmen today. It's like, well, what do I do, God? I don't know what to do. I don't have experience. God calls you, and if God calls you to do something, he will equip you. And the challenge is, you just have to accept the call first. The equipping doesn't come first. You have to accept the call first, then step out, and then you'll be equipped. There are deceiving spirits in this world today. At 1 Timothy 4, the Spirit clearly says, in the latter times, some will abandon the faith, follow deceiving spirits and things taught by demons. Such teachings come through the hypocritical liars, whose consciences have been seared as with a red-hot iron. Peggy shared a few deceiving spirits yesterday. And I'm telling you that there's more than the ones that she shared. You have deceiving spirits in Emporia, Kansas. And the challenge is, are we willing to call them out if God tells us to? But the real part is, do we understand the deception anyway? Are we starting to buy in? We're starting to drink a little bit of the Kool-Aid going, it's not really that bad. That makes sense. We're going to make it work together. Theistic evolution. That's one of those deceiving spirit mentalities. That makes sense. We're going to take evolution and theistic creation, we're going to put them together to make it all work. Okay? If you don't know that one, look it up. But the point is, that's a deceiving spirit. We can't drink their Kool-Aid and try to make it work with God. God is God's stuff. It's his way. There is no other. You can't add to it. So we have to stand firm and realize that there are deceiving spirits in our world, in our realm, in our lives, and what are we going to do about it? And the left self-identifies who they are. This is what I love about the left. They tell you, you know what? They tell you who they are. They tell you what they're going to do. Matthew 25, 32, all the nations gathered before him and will separate the people from one from the other as shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. He will put the sheep on his right, the goats on his left. I'm telling you, when the left say they're left, believe them. Believe them for who they are. It's not political. Calling a Democrat is not they're self-identifying that they're on the left. If it's a progressive, they're self-identifying. That is not politics. And that's another thing really quick. Abortion has been labeled political. Gender identity has been labeled political. Marriage has been labeled political. Those are not political things. Those are biblical things. We've been shamed as the church say, oh, those are politics. Those are politics. They're not political. They're biblical. In fact, everything that's we've been blamed as we can't get involved in politics, if you take the time to look at it, it's a biblical issue. We have to stop letting them run over us and call out what it is at the time out. Right here. That's a biblical issue. Let me show you real quick, okay? Not politics. So the question is, we got to stop identifying with them, because when we buy into that, basically we're buying into them. We drank a little bit of the Kool-Aid. When we say abortion is really a political statement, it's really a political issue, we're drinking the Kool-Aid with them. Just understand. It's hard to realize sometimes how good they are at feeding us and giving us something to drink that's really not good for us. And finally, Israel, thus the church, is under attack. Israel's literally under attack today. But if Israel's God's chosen, and that is a rhetorical statement, by the way. Israel is God's chosen. Okay? The church is grafted in. Understand we're under attack. And understand you're not going to get away from it. Our attack in America is not going to be quite like some of the other attacks that's going on in Nigeria today, Sudan, Ethiopia. I mean, they're getting slaughtered by the thousands over there every single year, believers. But the attacks are still coming to America. And the new attacks, if the Muslim Brotherhood people listen to the Sheikh or the Oman, whatever he is from Al Qaeda, we can have the literal physical attacks coming here in America. And don't believe that they won't try that. They try it every place else. They do it other places. It's going on in all over Europe today. So the question is, are our eyes open? Are we really going to be watchmen on the wall every day, seeing what's going on, and then get engaged? And it always starts with prayer. Always starts lifting up, God, I'm seeing this. You're showing this to me. What do I do with it? How do I get involved? Ask the question, and then get involved and let Him equip you. Because we are called to be watchmen. But remember, watchmen isn't just sitting and watching. You have to sound the alarm. You sometimes have to fight. Sometimes you have to work with a sword in your hand. It's been clearly shown over the last 3 days. Watchmen isn't just going like this, going, oh, wow, cool. Oh, no. It means taking the information, and it gets disseminated. It's used sometimes by you. So you have to be involved. Father God, again, I want to say thank you, Lord, for the conference. Thank you for the opportunity to get together and God, just look at the crazy, cool world we live in. And again, not to be fearful, not to be frightened, not to be full of anxiety, but truly, God, that we can be at rest knowing, God, that we're on your side. You're the commander-in-chief. We have the great leader, Jesus, in our life, and we have the great communicator, the Holy Spirit, leading, guiding, teaching, training. Father, may we be open to those influences in our life from you, Lord, that truly want to shape and mold us, God, to become like Jesus, to love others, to serve others. And it's hard to want to serve those that are evil, but we were once evil as well. We don't really recognize it sometimes, but we were once like them. So God, I just ask that you open our hearts and minds to understand the times that we live in, and more than that, to understand the times that we are called to be in. In other words, what are we called to do with this, Lord? How are we called to engage in this, Lord? How are we called to make a difference in this, Lord? Because our hearts and our desires, God, you put somebody in our life every single day that doesn't know you, that we can share the gospel, that we can love them through the process, accept them where they're at, and show them Jesus, God. So open doors like that in each one of our lives. Help us to keep our eyes on target. Help us keep our eyes wide open, Lord, but not just to see, but to truly understand the times that we live in, God, and the calling placed on each one of us.